Hello, everyone, and welcome back, as always, to another episode of Magnificence. Hi, everyone. I'm here as your Dungeon Master, as I always am. My name is G, and I'm so excited you are back here to join us. I'm excited to be here. I know all our players are excited to be here. At least, I hope they are. Otherwise, they're like really, really good actors, which we already knew. Getting right into it, we have a lot of very fun things happening today. We are teetering on the edge of the heart of Mor Akkros, and as I've kind of alluded to, I feel like we might reach it today. But then again, if you've kept up with the party this long, you know we love to spend time just hanging out and chatting with each other in character. And that's what D&D's about. That's a big part of it. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're wrong and stop being their friends. Let's get right into things with our normal message of appreciation towards Sarsen Games for their Oracles of Agra sourcebook that we use all throughout this campaign with some of their homebrew subclasses and their homebrew pantheon that you have seen already. With that, let me go ahead and just jump right into a super quick recap of our last session before we resume playing. In our last session, we had some pretty serious combat with more of the strange corpse creatures that linger around Mor Akkros, nearly bringing down Alina Munson in the process. But through some quick thinking of her fellow party members, Alina was brought back up by Olwen's improvised bonfire, Suda's healing hands, and Sage warping the monster away onto a nearby roof. In the wake of the battle, Leto, Sage, and Suda bringing some attention to some of Alina's maybe previously unknown abilities. A long, distant part of her own lineage that she is not quite aware of, it seems. As the battle has concluded, the party decides to hole up in a nearby abode for the evening, to get some rest, to lick their wounds, essentially, and just get themselves prepared for the next day of travel as they come closer and closer to the heart of Mor Akkros. As they rest for the evening, Alina and Suda have a conversation in the quiet hours, discussing things that have happened, things that are to happen. The relationship a bit tense, as it is with the entire party. That frigid, harrowing atmosphere not doing much to mend these fragile friendships that have been formed. Olwen and Sage sharing conversation in the night, and Carrie and Suda sitting and very specifically not speaking for several hours, just staring and causing such a tenseness in the air that it nearly kills the DM from beyond the fourth wall. As morning comes, there's a knock on the door. Here in this long abandoned city where nothing lives. The party prepares themselves, getting ready for whatever may be on the other side, knowing this is not Kuvos, this is not their friend. Instead, they see a veiled, undead woman who speaks in a gasping voice, shrieking that the party is going to reveal her hiding place, pointing, screaming at Alina, running away as fast as she can. And as Olwen goes to try to intervene and stop her from drawing more attention to the party, she crumbles into dust the moment that they make contact. And it is in the wake of that very rude awakening, I will say, that we begin our session today. We find our party in various states of alarm, surprise, standing either in the doorway or out on the sidewalk, out on the street. Olwen specifically standing over what remains of this strange veiled woman. Nothing but a pile of dust and ash now coating the dark robes that she was wearing, that have been left alone on the street.
What the fuck?
I'll second that. What the fuck?
There's no trace of them here.
Owen, you're standing there holding the remains.
What do these robes look like? Do they just look like ordinary robes?
You pick up these heavy, thick black robes, and you they smell like an old wardrobe, like that mothball old cloth. Like they just smell, you can smell the age on them almost. When you turn to the party and you hold them up saying this is all that's left, Caradwin in particular, you smell it first. That soft tinge of cold earth. It reaches you first, but soon it emanates and wafts through the air to reach everyone else. They're old, but they're very well made. They're in one piece.
I'd like to reach out to touch them, get a feel. Caradwin does have some historical experience and expertise with fabric, too. Just want to touch them, get my goblin hands on them.
You go forward to meet Olwen where they stand amongst the dust and the ash, and you take these robes in your hands. A bit more expertise in fabrics, clothing. You immediately pick up how well made and heavy and thick the cloth is. It is definitely something made for colder weather.
I would love to roll a skill check of some kind for a little more vibe on these robes.
Yeah, you want to vibe check them?
I want to vibe check the robes.
Yeah. We'll call this. Let's call this an Arcana check.
Okay, so a total of 17.
You focus in on this material. It is a dark, dark black color, bespeckled with this ashen dust that the veiled woman turned into. And the more you look at it, it almost takes in the light around it. It's like that Vanta black material. It's not just dark, it is the absence of all light. The edges of the fabric have very well done embroidered thread along it. As you hold it up in front of you, you see the asymmetrical, sharp cuts in the shape. It is a fully embodying, full covering robe that has many hidden folds and pockets and small compartments. It is quite to your taste, actually. And the symbol that you keep at your side almost seems to hum in appreciation in response. What you have in front of you is called the Tabernacle Cloak. It is a bonus to your AC, advantage on stealth, relying on sight, and once per long rest, 1d4 charges to cast something called Embrace of the Buried, which is slightly mechanically changed, reflavored, in essence, Misty Step, Shadow Step, short distance teleportation. You hold this in front of you, feeling it is right in your hands. And everyone else, you see Caradwin take these robes and just kind of through body language alone, see them sort of like accept them immediately as her possession.
It would not be the first time that Caradwin has appropriated the clothing of a dead person to their own needs, uses. I want it.
Dress history isn't exactly my thing. Can you tell how old these are?
Gee, did I get a vibe check on the relative age of the, material?
Yeah, we'll carry over with your own expertise in this sort of, seamstress work and a pretty good Arcana roll. It is similar to the parchment you found back at the outpost as you entered the city proper. It definitely shows signs of being incredibly old, but it doesn't have the wear that something that age would have. So you are immediately of the mind that this is something more that is pre-Empire, that has impossibly survived the tests of time.
So I will, yes, turn to look at Sage, because I assume you sort of asked that out loud, and just say, these are older than they should be. Much like that parchment we found earlier, the material is in excellent condition for its age and where we found it, and
She was saying this was her hiding place, but how would us being here reveal it more than the opening of the earth already
Elena
had?
walks over and very carefully kind of picks up, like one arm or one drape of fabric is kind of hanging down, and so she reaches out and very gingerly, very carefully lifts it up and starts running her thumb over the fabric edge and the embroidery just to see what she also gets out of that.
While you take a look at that, do you have any idea who that was? They seem to know you, or at least something of you.
No, I have no idea.
Her face was covered. Doesn't make it easier.
Gee, I assume there's no, like, family history stories that would give me any hint of this.
I would say Alina gets the feeling that's maybe the right track. I don't recall anything now, but I think Alina would have a feeling of, I think I know who to talk to, though. But of course, that's something that has to wait till we get back to the surface.
I might know someone who has an inkling, but there's no way to reach her now. Wait, is there a way to reach her now? There is sending. Holy crap. So Elena, she was fingering the fabric. She kind of lets it go for a moment. This may be strange, but I'm going to try something. And she turns her back just to sort of try and have a little bit of privacy. She closes her eyes, focuses, and tries to send her in the same way that she did for Naime, but instead she's reaching out to someone who is both more familiar but also more distant. She's going to reach out to her grandmother, Elena. Elena, it's your granddaughter. I need to know if there are family stories about a woman in black, hidden, screaming, maybe cursed, anything. I love you.
You reach out to this distant family member and stand in the silence for several long minutes. And you're standing waiting until slowly and carefully a hesitant voice returns to you. Oh, no. The stories I know are different. I didn't expect your letter, Alina. Why don't you come visit? You should soon. I'll put on some tea. A voice addled with age and a great bit of confusion.
As Alina turns back, if anyone cares to notice, there are definite tears in her eyes that she is wiping away.
Alright, well, for now, why don't we try to move a bit? Whoever that was, they were attracting a lot of noise and attention to this place.
Will give away the hiding place, yeah, because shrieking like that is totally hiding. Absolutely.
Was someone identifying the robes? I know you guys mentioned that, but who was actually casting
I can do it.
The tabernacle cloak, you get back those mentioned stats. What you also get back, in addition, that was not able to be seen just with a cursory glance, is it is a religious covering. This is something that has come from a place of divinity. Best way to put it, this is a holy item of clerical
And in
order.
my experience dealing with artifacts and that sort of thing, it is very rare to come across items with that sort of energy, correct?
Mm-hmm. The religions and temples that exist above ground are built from nothing but the hands of the people of the Empire.
When I get back that information from the Identify, I'm going to turn to Carrie. And I was sitting kind of cross-legged as everyone was around me, packing up and that sort of thing. And when I'm done with the Identify, come out of it, fix up on Carrie. You're right. I think this is for you. Take care of it. It's something special. Hands it back.
Thank you. And Carrie will take the moment to sort of shuffle off their outer layer and don these swoopy and amazing robes with so many pockets for knives and other little things.
More than once during Camp Pack Up, and even before we set out, once we decide where we're going, Suda noticeably pauses and gets that 1,000-mile stare as something roils behind her eyes, and she tries to conjure some unseen thought.
Olwen is going to turn to Alina as Caradon has donned the robes and is just going to confirm, mostly for his own sake, but you can confirm that these are safe for her to use.
I certainly didn't feel a curse or anything like that. They don't seem to have any poor effect on the wearer.
Unfortunately, those sort of things tend to be hidden from divination magic, though. You can't trust that.
Well,
did everybody get enough rest? I think Sage does kind of look at Suda in particular, just knowing how difficult yesterday was for her, knowing Alina is being a little more talkative here in the morning with talking about this robe and stuff, but Suda, I feel like, has been very much standing back.
Absolutely. And even when you ask that question, she does not respond, as whatever's happening internally is caught all of her attention.
Well, we have everything ready to go if we're good to move on from here.
Leto pipes up, holding his own logbook, referencing the copied map and everything. We should be good to go. We are a couple levels away from the center, and then at that point it is just hopefully boring. A matter of looking around, seeing what is there, cataloging what we find, taking with us any important artifacts, items that we find, such and such. I'm hoping this is the most exciting part of our journey, and once we get there, it will be boring research stuff.
I must ask that you please stop saying that. In my own experience, when you proclaim how boring or uneventful something is going to be, the opposite often occurs. So let's move on, shall we?
Yeah. He leads you on.
A good thing to talk about, at least, is are we looking to move quietly, or do we want torches? We know those things are adverse to fire now. That might actually be a better way of moving around than trying to keep quiet, since it seems like that hasn't been working.
I'm afraid I must demand that we have some sort of light source. Might be better to switch to fire instead of magical light, though.
I think a combination of fire for light, but also moving quietly might be our best way forward. No need to make excessive noise, but as you pointed out, fire actually seems to be a pretty good deterrent, and some of us have a harder time seeing in the dark. So
I'm not entirely sure those things can see. At least from what we've observed, I can't. I couldn't see if they had any eyes or not.
They were all made of bones.
I think, yes, moving quietly but with fire might be the best combination of what we have available to us, and I think the more quickly we get moving, the better. Staying in one place for too long in a place like this is not wise.
All right. As we go to light torches, Olin is once again going to touch the ground as little bits and pieces of a very soft cloud of dust sort of hovers a bit away from our person, and it's serving to muffle sound as we walk, as I use merge with stone to use pass without trace again.
All right. Traveling with torches at the ready and moving as quietly as you can as a group. Let's go ahead and roll a group stealth check as we continue on to this first of the last leg of our journey.
25.
23 for me.
23 for Suda.
22 for Olin.
And 28.
Hilariously, Leto did incredibly well, got 27, just one below Carrie, which is insane to me. But everyone being easily above a 20, you move expertly through the silence and the pockets of extreme darkness here in Mor Akkros, keeping the torches nearby to ward off any more of those corpse creatures. You do, as you travel, hear scuttling, shuffling in the dark, but nothing ever dares to cross into that dome of protective light that you now carry with you. Feeling good about the journey ahead, as good as one can in a situation such as this. You continue on your careful way as the hours pass, eventually leaving not just the first outer ring, but the second as well. Not entirely large on their own. The city itself is quite large, but the separate rings easy enough to travel through, especially since you don't have to worry about the congestion of large crowds as one normally would in large cities. Someone go ahead, just for general check. Just go ahead and roll me a d20, just for this extra day of travel we have.
Natural one.
Now, this is rolling for travel. Nat ones are not necessarily bad. It just means different things for what may happen. But of course, maybe that's what I want you to believe. So, as you travel into the second ring, you're getting towards the end of it. It's been a long, tiring day of travel. Careful steps and barely any conversation amongst your party. It is tense, it is tiring. No one is really up for a lot of light conversation. Coming towards the end of the second ring, you're just about on the edge. You can see it ahead of you. You hear that shuffling again in the dark. Though it has happened several times during this day of travel, you feel your grips tighten on the various torches that everyone is holding. Once again, putting your faith and trust into this dome of protective firelight that has, so far, kept you safe. The shuffling grows quieter and quieter as you continue walking towards the edge of the second ring, until slowly it fades away, and you're left reassured this is like every other time that this has happened. They were fascinated, but they left us alone, not daring to enter the light. When you reach that edge of the second ring, that next grand staircase that leads you down to the third, the shuffling suddenly starts again, this time behind you. Those of you who dare a glance over your shoulder to look and see what may be lingering, you see the familiar black ichor tendril curl around the door frame of an open doorway behind you. It moves as quietly as it has before, and all of you immediately on your guard, drawing weapons, getting spells ready, everyone tensing up. But it just steps carefully out of the doorway. It has no head, but the cock of its shoulders, the sort of exhausted, hanging stance that it takes on, it's almost like it isn't even aware of you standing there as it shambles out of this doorway. And in the neck, where the black tendrils sprout out, you see those same tendrils, but in addition to the sticky ichor and darkness that occupies the stump where its head once was, you see a gentle red glow. There's been no evidence of those crystals on any of these creatures so far, but you're deeper in now than you have been before. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to see more evidence of that. As this creature, blissfully unaware of any of you, continues shambling across the street, bumps into an opposite wall, and turns itself a bit, and continues to walk, dragging a shattered ankle behind it. Its broken, contorted, and transformed body slowly disappearing into the dark behind you. The last thing you see being that small point of softly glowing red light.
Once it feels like it's far enough, I imagine we're all standing there kind of frozen, just very quietly, just loud enough that hopefully the party can hear, but not much past that. Do you think we should see what's in the building it came out of? Or should we just keep going?
Let me check first. Olwen is going to get a little bit closer to the building.
Before you, as you kind of part off from the party, Sage will touch your shoulder and cast protection from evil and good.
Still sticking relatively close to the party, Olwen is going to get a little closer to the building and just see if I can listen for any sounds coming from inside it.
The doorway is still open, and you just approach one of the shuttered windows before reaching the doorway and kind of put your ear up to the thin wood paneling that closes off the window. And you listen carefully and closely, and you hear nothing within. Not the shuffling of feet, not the scrabbling of old bones. Just quiet.
Do I hear the sound of anything dripping?
With your passive perception, which for audience sake, remind us what that is, what that crazy number is?
24.
24. You do not hear any sounds of dripping.
Owen is going to turn back to the rest of the party and say, "No, it's quiet. I don't hear any of that dripping either, so I don't think there's one in there that's just stagnant. It might just be empty."
As we watched it move away from us, that pinprick of red from the crystal, was the red a steady color, light phrasing, or was it pulsing in the way that we have seen some other things?
It was a steady, solid color.
Still, I don't like having it at our back, especially as we head further toward danger. I'd rather not be outflanked. I say we take it out while we still can.
I'd like to take a look inside the building before we chase after it.
That one was different.
Exactly. It didn't have the same priorities. There was no way it didn't sense us.
You move forward. It sounds like trying to stay in as much of a group as possible, peeking in through this open doorway. The red glow inside the building was not strong enough to be seen out on the streets, but you see it as you peek around the doorframe. It is very, very gentle. And you realize that is because it is not coming from inside this building per se, but instead the mangled hole in the ground. A very, very gentle red glow coming out from this hole. In the center of this tiled room, bits of debris and scrap blown away. It looks like something burst through the ground long ago. Are you approaching to investigate further or just looking from the doorway?
If nobody stops me, I'll approach. Would y'all give me time to do a ritual detect magic? I've burned through a lot of my first level slots, so I'd rather not do it quickly if I don't need to.
I'll post up outside.
So will I.
With Carrie and Suda posting up, you know that is essentially the green light to take a look around for a few minutes.
While Sage is checking out the glowing death hole inside the death hole, Olin is just gonna keep an ear to the ground for any of those scuttling noises, just to be sure. Just as like a safety net.
Yeah, absolutely. Sage, you move into the building carefully. You step around some of the broken tile and bits of stone debris. Occasionally, you take a misstep that crunches loudly against some of the already broken tile, making you full body cringe and freeze for several quiet, tense seconds as you wait for something to react to the noise. And when nothing happens, you take another step and another before finally reaching the outside edge of this strange tunnel. Upon closer look, your first observations are it is definitely big enough for a average medium-sized humanoid individual to move through. Not having to full army crawl with stone pressed against your back and sides and chest like you have coming here to Mor Akkros, but a comfortable hands and knees, enough room to breathe. The earth is packed down as if it has been being used regularly. Several entities, creatures of a similar size seem to have been moving through. As well as the earth is definitely wet with that black ichor. It is saturated with it. You would have to hazard a guess that if you were to reach down and poke at the earth with a hand or a boot, it would come away covered in that ichory substance. The most notable thing, however, is not a lot, but just a few, maybe 3 or 4 in your vision. Points of those red crystals peeking out from the earth, lining the walls, giving that very subtle, steady red glow. You can't see where the tunnel leads. You would have to hazard a guess that it goes in fairly deep.
I'm so tempted to try to use Mage Hand to take one of the crystals out, but I remember that the disturbance of the earth was what attracted things to us before. And Sage may be extremely curious to a fault, but she's not that stupid. There's some of those crystals embedded in the earth here, not in a thing, but in the ground. I can't see far enough on to see where this might lead.
Here, let me take a look.
Does it lead toward or outside of the city?
We get a little bit closer to see if he can spot like a couple more details.
Yeah. Olwen, please go ahead and give me a nature check.
21.
Olwen, you cross over and you crouch down on the outside of this tunnel. You, of course, notice everything that Sage was able to pick up. Taking a much closer look with your much more attuned eye, you do pick up a few extra details on that 21. First, this tunnel currently seems to go mostly down into the earth. It doesn't seem to veer more towards the heart or more towards the outer rings. Right now, it just seems to be a somewhat steep decline into the earth. Whether it turns past that or splits into different passages, that much is unclear from where you are. You can't see that far into the darkness. You also pick up amongst the tiny bits of those red crystals peeking up from the earth. It is hard to spot, and you notice it at first due to the abnormality in how the dirt lays. It is flattened and smooth from several creatures moving through this tunnel, and you notice small bumps in the earth where it has split and crumbled a tiny bit, almost as if more is coming up from it. And the first thing it makes you think of is a new sapling breaking the surface of the ground for the first time as it grows. And it's when that thought comes to you, you remember the vines at the very beginning, and you hazard a reach in for just a moment, and brushing away just a speck or two of dirt, you are able to in fact see that bright green, just barely at the surface of those vines that had gone underground since the entrance. You're seeing them again for the first time in over a week since you've entered, but they do run alongside this tunnel, same as the crystals do.
Look, the vines from the entrance, they're here too. This tunnel doesn't go towards the heart or the inner circles, it's going down just further into the earth. It looks like some creatures pass by here sometimes. You can tell by the padded down ground. But look, there are breaks from where the vine is trying to come out of. Why appear here? They disappeared as soon as we got a certain depth in.
Is this where those things are born from? Is this where they're made?
There's something I wanted to do up top but never did. This is probably stupid, but Elena comes closer and is going to use detect thoughts on the vines.
Go ahead. First things first, give me a wisdom saving throw.
8.
You take 18 points of psychic damage. As you reach in, you connect with these vines and you cast Detect Thoughts. It is impossible to pick out one voice amongst the cacophony that you receive. Thousands upon thousands of voices coming together in a screaming choir down here in the earth, singing their praises up to something unknown in both fear and total reverence. You are unable to decipher a single word of it as you immediately recoil with your full strength and feel your nose begin to bleed.
Oh, ow.
You're clearly not okay, but how... Your head, is it...
No, singing and praising something. I don't know what it...
What did you try to do?
I tried to read its thoughts. That hurt. That really hurt. I think I'm not going to do that for a while. And she moves off to the side and is like trying to deal with the blood that has been coming out of her nose for a moment and get cleaned up.
How many of you are still around the edge of the tunnel after Alina did the recoil? Are you also crouched?
I think it's Olwyn, Sage, and Alina. I believe Caradwyn and Suda were standing guard, keeping an eye out for things approaching from the outside. Is that right? I don't know where Leto is.
Leto is standing awkwardly by the wall, too scared to be out on the street by himself, but also not wanting to be by the tunnel because he's a squishy little man. As you're gathered around the edge of this tunnel, kind of reacting to the bout of pain Alina is going through in her head, Olwyn first, followed by Sage, and Alina being the last one, you notice in this order, looking back at the tunnel, the vines kind of begin to move in response to that poking and prodding. They grow further. Dozens of vines begin to emerge from the earth and grow outwards, moving rather slowly, but fast enough for you to watch it happen as they go up and forward and begin to wrap around the edge of the tunnel that you're standing by, and then grow out towards each other as if reaching out their hands, intertwining with one another. And in about 30 to 40 seconds, you watch as these vines, in reaction to Alina's prodding, begin to close off the tunnel, creating a wall of themselves, a wall of these vines, blocking your sight.
Is my detect magic picking up on any magical energy of this, or does this seem like growth? Or is there an enchantment happening here?
It doesn't seem like an active spell. No one has cast a spell, or there's no enchantment or anything. It definitely seems magical, of course. Plants don't grow that fast. But it isn't in response to a certain spell or anything being cast.
It's like a creature responding and not us having triggered a spell that was cast here or something.
From everything you guys have picked up of these vines before, they seem alive, not like how plants are, I think is how I've put it. It definitely seems more akin to that reaction.
I think we should get out of here. Do we burn them?
No. We should just leave. It seems interacting with them in any way seems to communicate where we are, so we shouldn't move. As we're getting ready to leave, Olin is going to comment, when it blocked off like that.
It's protecting something, isn't it?
Or is it hiding?
You all gather your things, taking off from this short respite, getting Suda and Carrie, who are posted up outside the door of this building, and continuing on your way.
As we're leaving, I don't know if you heard what Alina said, but whatever collective is making up these creatures, this hive mind, they were praising something down here.
Well, we know these things are made of corpses. Do you think it's those? Thoughts of whatever corpses they take over?
Alina, it was the vines you were focusing on specifically, right?
Yes, the vines were...
I feel like they're all one... It's a hive mind, isn't it? As we're moving, we're having this conversation. We are not waiting outside the door as long as...
Yeah.
Assuming Suda and Caradwyn are good with that. I think the vines and the creatures are... I think it's soldiers and workers, and they all have different roles, but they're all part of the same system.
I mean, if that is how it works, I don't understand how the system functions. I know these things aren't alive, and maybe I shouldn't be treating them like they're animals or plants.
They're alive.
No, but not in the traditional sense is what I mean. They're different. But even then, if they do follow a system, I don't know how any of this connects. What is the cycle? How do the crystals, the plants, the ichor, the corpses, in what way do they connect?
I think whatever queen bee there is might be through that passage that was closing up.
That's not what I mean. I mean, do the vines make the crystals? Does the ichor come from the crystals? Or do the vines grow out of the corpses? If this is a system, and if these things are some sort of facsimile of life, then they still need to follow something. I just don't understand how. We haven't seen any sort of transition between any of these individual things. Just that they're all part of a thing.
It's a bit of a fun part not to be like that, but when you get more hints and they just bring up more questions. That's pretty normal when you're researching things, so.
Well, yes, but I feel like that's more fun when it's not trying to kill you.
It can be both.
Or almost succeeding.
As we're having this conversation, I do just turn to Lito. Does he have any insight on, like, just the random ramblings we're having? Does he know anything?
He's scribbling in his logbook. He's not offering up any commentary. He seems to be keeping his thoughts mostly to himself. But definitely will share should you care to ask him any specific questions. He's been keeping track and taking notes on everything you guys have seen so far, basically.
Yeah, I feel like Sage looks at Lito like, you're on my side on this, right?
I think Owen will bring it up then. It's like, Lito, do you have any thoughts on how any of these could flow into each other?
I have a working theory. It is fucking disturbing, though, and I don't know if I want to share it because just thinking about it sort of makes my skin crawl.
Something disturbing in Mor Akkros?
I know, shocking, isn't it?
Lato, it might matter. You should share.
We're in this giant structure moving towards the heart. The vibrations in the earth and the clicking that you have heard, it's the corpse creatures, the parasitic nature, the vines and the crystals, and does it feel anyone else like we are in the body of something?
I've been having that same thought, and yes, it is terrifying.
Oh, thank the gods, I thought I was crazy. Okay.
No, these vines, they pulse like veins.
The clicks and the vibrations. It feels like it feels like a pulse. It feels like something is breathing. It feels like we are inside of something massive in size.
If not in a body, at least within a tangled network of roots or something like that.
And it makes me wonder. The corpse creatures that we see, are they considered the parasites of this body, or are we? Are they defending us as the parasites, or are we assisting it in getting rid of its parasites? What role do we play currently if we are inside of that body, is what I have been trying to think on.
And what would hide inside a body?
Are we an infection or are we a cure? Like I said, fucking disturbing. I don't like it. But also I kind of do. This is a major discovery. I just really want to live to share it with the world.
Are they praising the thing that's bringing them life? The thing that they're feeding on?
He taps his forehead very insistently and points at you, not saying anything, just motioning.
And what are the boundaries of that life? When did we pass into it, if we have in fact passed into it?
I mean, that would explain, Olwen, when you tried to grow the plant, think of it like if a bug is biting you. You notice that prick on your skin. You notice it is doing something, and so you try to stop it. Well, that's what I was thinking. What if it is something like that? You have influenced plants in the earth prior to this, and there was no major reaction. But once we hit the city proper, it was reacting when we began to dig and unearth. So that makes me think it is mostly the city proper.
As we're sort of like saying all of these things out loud, and as like the idea of like a body is brought up, could I get a reminder who was reading like a book out loud to us? Was it Elena reading it to the party, or is it Caradwin reading it to the party?
Yeah, it would have been Elena or Sage. Caradwin reads to herself, but is not a competent enough reader to read it aloud.
Okay, Olin is going to move a little bit closer to where Elena is, and just sort of very quietly, in like a questioning tone, is just going to repeat like that little section to see if she thinks anything about it, and then he's going to say, "What did that thing you were reading? What did it say? The Iron Hand did not allow the prophet to ever die. The seedling and the prophet are now one entity."
Elena stops. Just stops. Doesn't move. Turns to Olwen. Oh my god. Gods. I think you're right. The book. Say it again. Say it for everyone. It was in the book that we found.
Olwen turns to the party and, "The Iron Hand did not allow the prophet to ever die. The seedling and the prophet are now one entity.
I don't like this.
Caradwin stops walking. Just absolutely stops moving.
Suda, you weren't there. We found the Vardo. There was a book after we solved all of those riddles and such about a betrayed prophet. It was a legend. I don't like this because why the fuck was that book in that Vardo that we got from those children? Things aren't connected like this. This is too perfect.
Might we find a building that is somewhat secure? It is the end of our traveling day, anyways, and settle down for the night to discuss this when we are not walking in the middle of the street.
That seems very wise.
Yes, let's do that. It seems we have a lot of theories to work through as a group. Vito kind of puts away the map for now and joins with all of your expertise. Easy enough to find a secure enough building that you're able to somewhat barricade and close off and set up camp like you did the previous night. So you guys settle down for a rest. And Leto takes out all of his notes and lays them out for everyone to have access to. So everything you guys have experienced previously in Mor Akkros he has been taking notes on is available to you guys as you continue to work through these theories.
As soon as we're like in a sort of closed area where we can just talk, Owen's just gonna start asking questions. Goes like, "Okay, that story. When was it? Was it before or during the Empire, like early days?"
It was before the Empire,
Had to have been.
if I remember right.
Otherwise, we would have had a record of it. We would have heard of it before.
Yes, the Compendium of Sorrows is predating the Empire.
Okay, it predates it.
It very well could have been from the time of Mor Akkros, but this is too... Why was that in the Vardo that the Moon Moltons had possession of? And it was there before they had the access to the Firestarter.
Might I ask, only because I was not around for the discovery of this book you are discussing, where did this wagon come from that you acquired? You said, from what I've gathered, you got it from some of the children in Seer's Morning. Where did it come from? That would be my question. If it held a book such as this...
Their parents.
Who were their parents?
It came from Mardo.
That is something that I think would be good to follow up on once getting to the surface, yes? That is something I'm interested in learning more about, at least.
Maybe. But, okay. So is that what we think? Do we think whatever this place, whatever this creature, if it is a creature is, do you think it is that prophet from so many years ago?
Solora Mullen was her name. And Caradwin will pull out the book and put it down centrally, where if we're gathered around, an old table or some... This is what we found. I'm less concerned with how it got there. I'm more concerned with what we do with it now that we have it.
I mean, do we believe this is the prophet? Because if it is, doesn't the last line of that story say, was it, they are the last string of violence before the coming end?
It lines up too well. I don't like it. I keep saying that, I'm sorry, but...
You're not alone in that feeling.
I don't think it has a connection, but Mardo is also where the last grove is. That happened 300 years after the founding of the Empire, though. Well, the destruction of the groves, that is. I thought at first that might have something to do with it, but that seems too far away.
But what if it does? Why is it all lining up so quickly and so perfectly?
Well, I don't know how well that part lines up. The only connection I can think of is that the book is from Mardo, and that's where the grove is. I don't know how far of a connection that might be, but maybe. I guess more interesting than that is the groves, when they were destroyed, there was a famine that came after it, and it just fixed itself. At least according to that book I read in your study, Elena. It said that after that famine, they didn't say how, they just said it stopped. The land was replenished by something, and people moved on.
That was after the founding of the Empire, though, wasn't it?
Yes, that was after the founding, so I'm not sure if that has anything to do with this. The only connection that really has is that it's in Mardo, and it also involves the sudden growth of something. But that might be too far.
A connection's a connection.
She became the seed. Has the seed been growing all this time? What made it come forth now?
I don't. Maybe it has just been growing this entire time. It said, the prophet's blood watered the earth to make the seedling grow. The sting of betrayal salted the earth itself. That might be another connection. Salted the earth. Famine. Destruction of life across it. That is what happened during that great famine that suddenly disappeared. Focusing less on that. That book. Whose perspective was it written from? Because there was a cult, wasn't there?
It's a third person. It's written by a biographer.
Okay.
But the cult worshipped someone named Kol Tildana. There was some symbol. I'm remembering the book now. There was some symbolism. A black pearl, blackened hands from the fingertips to the elbows. Things like that.
A saint of spirits and ghosts.
Her divine body was broken, shredded, and torn apart. She was not allowed to ever die.
Why would she be hiding?
Spreading the death the iron hand put into the seedling. Death put into the seedling. Does that mean anything?
I think we need more information before we can know if these connections are really connected and get answers. I keep saying it, it's too perfect. This is too not random.
What's wrong with that?
Wait, Alina, you said that you heard, what was it, screaming and worship, right?
It was just a cacophony. Millions, thousands, so many voices all at once, together but not overlapping, all singing up to something unknown, fear, reverence, and I could not make out a single word of any of it. It hurt.
Sacrifices were made in her name. That was the cult. Do you think those voices were the people of Mor Akkros or the cult that held Salora?
It wouldn't surprise me if they were. They were praising something. They were worshiping something. I just don't know what.
We need to rest, and I don't think we're going to be able to draw any conclusions.
All right.
How are we doing the watches tonight? I'll set the alarm.
I'll take one of them. I didn't have to exert myself today as much as I did yesterday, so I'm good to take one of the watches.
You all watched for me last night. I should help.
Caradwin, are you taking the last as usual, or would you like to?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, I'm feeling quite refreshed.
So, first watch Olwen, second watch Alina, third Carrie. Does that sound good to everyone?
I think as we're winding down, Sage is gonna, very awkwardly, she's very aware of how quiet Suda has been and such, just, very awkwardly be like, do you need some more food? Did you have any questions about the legend or anything? Did you want to look at it at all? I know it's not really your thing, but...
There's a certain anxiousness that is riding under the quietness, the thoughtfulness that she's had. All this stuff about death and vines screaming, and it makes no sense to me. All I care about at this point is seeing if Naime is still out there. Elena thinks she is, but I have to move at the pace of this group. So do your investigations, do your reading, just as long as we keep moving.
I think I want to find Naime as well, but I want to help both you and Naime, and we are currently dealing with something that is a multitude of beings sharing, if not one body, one mind. And I think it's too relevant to everything. It really is. I don't like it, but I don't think that the information we're going to be gathering here is going to be useless to you by any means. And when we leave, I will continue to... We can reach out to Magda. She might know something. I don't know that... Have you looked into anybody who knows... Have you looked at any temples or anything? I can't think of anybody who would be connected to matters of the spirit and the spirits, like souls and ghosts sharing a body. But have you tried any of the religious routes? I know that it's not something that is exactly smiled upon. It's not something that those who are into the arcane really look at, but it might be worth it. We'll figure something out. This is not the only mystery have on the list now.
I have posited this question to what rare cleric I can find, and in hypotheticals, of course. And they posit no solution, no magics or spells that could restore a body. So I have had someone from the Creators Expansion Union doing a little bit of research whenever I can send them some money. But I have not had much beyond that.
I neglected to tell you this because I was trying to debrief you very quickly, but know that even if we're not traveling together anymore once we get out of here, that's on my list of things to figure out, so.
I appreciate that. At least I think Naime would. And before Suda breaks away from the conversation, she pauses and turns back. That creature, that woman, I recognize her. I don't know how, but her voice, like a familiar song in my head, but I don't know the melody.
She recognized Alina, you recognized her. There's something going on with your sister. Fuck. Okay, I'm going to bed.
Go rest your weary mind and let it rest.
Also say before we get to sleep, Elena goes over to Leto, finds a spot sitting next to him on the ground, and reaches into her clothing, into like an inner pocket, and pulls out the letter from her mother that is now kind of beat up. She's been carrying this with her for a while, pulling it out, reviewing it, hiding it back away again. But she hands it over to Leto. I got this before we went down into the tunnel, and I know my mother is ambitious, but I'm not sure I've ever been afraid of her before.
Leto, having read the letter over, if you're offering to allow him to read it.
Yeah.
He is keeping his eyes down on the letter, skimming over its contents once, twice, 3, 4 times, nodding quietly to himself. Did I ever tell you that I am married myself? Twice, actually.
No, you never did.
I have a spouse and a wife. I have met both of them combined about 7 times since we got married over a decade ago. Not to influence how you are feeling, but alliances are made all the time. And the contents of this letter suggests maybe they have something in mind for you. You would not be alone in disliking such plans being made outside of your consent. It happens to the best of us, all the time. Even if that is where this letter is going, which, of course, I am not saying it is, that is merely my hunch. I doubt it would be the end of you, Alina. I know it may be unpleasant, but you're smart. You're very driven. I think you have the way to find an advantage in whatever situation you find yourself in. You know the Empire. You know the noble houses. You know the people that align themselves with them. You know a lot more than you think. I know your expertise is in that of history and things that came before, but like it or not, you have a head for the present as well. I think the Archduchess of your house sees that as well. She sees how much potential you have to get everything that you and your house could want in our current state of being.
I'm not afraid of alliance. I'm not afraid of marriage. I'm afraid of the corners that she'll cut and the bargains that she will make to get what she thinks she wants. I'm afraid of the price that might get paid and who will have to pay it. I cannot live under Damser. You know that. I will not.
I know you have your issues with some of the other houses, for good reason.
Issues.
And I know it is of no comfort for me to say, but should the alliance be with either of them, they are above Lindaris. As much as you know, you would be absorbed into their house.
When have I ever cared? I don't care.
Care or not, that is the life you were born into, Elena. Your only other option is to abdicate entirely. And I know that is not something you wish for. To be born within the nobility that you and I were born into grants privileges beyond imagining, but also the prettiest gilded cage for you to sit in. Our only options are to do what everyone else expects us to do, to disappear, abdicate entirely, live in Ancairn with all the other rejected nobility, or die. Within one of those paths, there is much more room for flexibility.
It would be so much simpler if we could just be. Elena takes a moment to kind of glance sidelong at the others, and there's some distance away from the others, so like a word or two might drop, but you guys aren't getting the full conversation unless you're actively trying to listen, and of course. But she kind of looks over to them, her gaze kind of lingering on Olwen, I think. They have no idea.
I just want you to know you have my utmost faith in you and your abilities, Lena, but I don't need to tell you how precarious, not just your situation, all of our situation is going to become. When war with the Conclave eventually reaches the boiling point and breaks out into full-scale invasions, it is people like us that are going to be first on the chopping block. You need to make smart, careful moves about who you align yourself with for the coming days. Alliances be damned. Whatever the Archduchess and your mother are trying to set you up for, people make public handshake deals all the time. You need to figure out what route works best for you and your family, the people you want to look out for. Because if you cross the wrong bridge, it is going to collapse beneath you. The noble houses, the 15 that exist today, not all of them are going to exist in a year's time, even, with the war that is coming. Conflicts like this, they do not happen without major casualties. And Landaris, he's in a good position, but not the best. It could be better. And I think that is exactly what your mother and the Archduchess are seeing.
If you know that, Marlena knows that.
With conflicts coming, they need to get Landaris in a better position to survive. I hate to say it, but it is something that I would recommend within House Doncaster.
And then there's Cersei.
What about Cersei?
She made a comment asking me to wear her colors at the tournament coming up. It's games. It's obviously games.
Cersei Shrodmore, correct? A knight.
Correct.
Well, then you have two options in front of you. Whomever the Archduchess and your mother put in front of you, and whatever Cersei puts in front of you. Both will align you on different sides, so it's really dependent on which side you think will survive the best.
Well, that's comforting.
Politics hardly are ever comforting, as I'm sure you know.
And there's never a clear answer.
No. But I hope you know, should you ever need refuge, my estate will always be open to you. Maybe not Stalcaster, but whatever land claims I have that they do not take away from me, you are on the guest list. So if you ever need a week to sit in silence with some books without people telling you about all of this bullshit, you know you are free to visit.
I appreciate that, Leto.
Of course. I will not keep you up anymore. We all need rest.
They can crash too, right? And she's angling over her shoulder at the others.
I like them. You have a good group here. They are terrifying to me. But I think that is more the reason for me to align myself with them. I want to be friends with the people who scare the shit out of me.
That's pretty good advice. Be friends with the people who scare the shit out of you.
You're getting it. All right, I'm going to go to sleep.
Me too. Good night, Leto.
Drops down in his bedroll. Good night.
Snaps back the letter before Leto falls asleep and tucks it back away. Goes to find her own bed.
as we go into our rests for the evening, I'm going to start really quick just with Olwen. Go ahead and roll a perception check just for your watch.
So as Owen goes to sit down for his watch, and he finds himself alone and rested, which he hasn't found himself in like several days now, the sound of clicking is going to surround the area where he's at. Various faces of different animals will begin to show up. From their sides, little stitchings will appear, almost looking like they're grabbing onto the area around him. For the next 2 hours, I'm going to cast Enhance Ability to give myself a passive perception of 29. I just want to listen and watch out for as much information as I can in these next 2 hours, and I'm just going to write down what I hear in like my notes.
Your 2 hours pass calmly and quietly. It is a finally relaxing, as much as it can be, bit of respite here in the dark of the undergrounds. But it passes without issue, and you are able to move on to Elena to wake her for her second watch.
The spell ends, I retract all of it, and I go to wake Elena from their slumber.
Elena, at the top of your watch, go ahead and roll me perception.
12.
You sit in quiet for the first hour or so of your watch. Eventually, out of the corner of your eye, you see the slightest shift of movement. You turn your head to face it, and you see along the wall of this long abandoned home that you're all staying in is a large, almost wall-length mirror that is covered in a thick layer of grime and dust, just so you're able to see like barely visible blurry shapes in it. And as you turn your head towards the movement, you see the far-off blurry image of your own reflection turn its head a bit further, raise a hand, and make a come closer motion. And that is where we're going to end our session today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed all of the mad theories and a bit more adventure and travel as we get closer, ever closer to the heart of Mor Akkros. I said at the top of the session we're going to reach it very soon. I genuinely think we are. We'll see how this next session goes, if there's more theorizing to be done, and see how this encounter with the mirror goes. Could go very good, could go very bad. I don't know. It's up to the dice. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Almost scared, guys.
I hope we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.